Hi, this is the second video in a short series in which hopefully I'm giving you everything you need to know about how to make your own beaded cap. In the first video I covered what size of materials I'm using and what, as far as thread, needle, and bead, and then how to prepare your stuff so that you're ready to work on your hat. Now remember, I plotted out a design on loom bead paper, graph bead paper, and then I started from the center here and I worked out from the side so that my design is centered. In later videos I'll cover how to work through this odd space over here. Now I made my design 19 beads so that I could follow the last stitch line in the cap. You could also use chalk or fabric marking pen or pencil. Just want to make sure that you do it so that the line ends up under the bead, so that when you work your design that it's not showing, or maybe you can wipe it, make sure you can wipe it off with a cloth or something. So we're going to be running the thread first off from the underside of the cap to the top side of the cap. And as I said in the first video, I like to use a heavier needle to kind of pre-poke the hat, and I'm using this upholstery needle which has this little T-top on it, which is really comfortable when I'm working through the hat. So I'm going to come from the underside to the top side, and you want to double check that your aim is good. Okay? And then you're going to give it a little wiggle here. Now to save time, I already strung my beads. In this case, like I said, it's a 19 bead pattern. So I have 19 beads on my strand. And if you're worried about, memorizing your pattern, it gets really easy after you've worked your design for a little bit to see where you need, what beads you need. It gets easier. Ouch, don't poke yourself. And then I'm going to run from again from the underside to the top side of the hat, pretty much always going that direction. Then I'm going to pull through. Sometimes it gets a little difficult. That's where I might use the beading pliers that I talked about before. And then I like to leave my finger or hand in the loop here, because sometimes it likes to twist and it can get a little tangled, after a little while. Now the very last thing I like to do, not everyone does it, but as you can see, my previous rows are fairly stable. They're not getting loose or anything. And that's because I take it and I go a couple times through so that it's wrapped around my loop here. Then it's not entirely, a knot, because I am able to later come by and loosen it if I have to, but I can cinch it down. Now when I pull, if I pull this way, right, I am tightening the very last row, this one right here. But if I pull this way, the last row actually gets loose. So if I'm pulling this way, then it actually tightens the row before it. So I do a little bit of both. I go back and forth just a little. I like to, again, I put my thumb at the end of the beads so that it comes out fairly nice and straight. Now, as you can see, I've let everything go, and my beads are still fairly tensioned on there. If they end up really loose, it's very easy to get things tangled, and the beads don't always stay in place so that your design looks, well, like you expect it to. Okay, that is it for this part of the lesson. At this point, you're coming out of this bead, so you would do the same thing we talked about before, over and over. You're going to make a hole next to the bead before it, give it a little swish, string your beads, and then come from the underside to the top side of the hat. You would pull it tight. Again, you like to leave your finger in the loop a couple times around here, and then pull it tight, and you can cinch your beads in, and you're all ready to go. I hope this is helping you make your very own beaded cap. If you have any questions or comments, please let me know, or any constructive criticism. I'd be glad to hear it. This is just the method that I like to use for a cap. It's nice and sturdy and comes out with a beautiful design. Check out my next video where I will show you how to deal with some of these odd spots and sizes here on